Guys, it finally happened. Not long after my video on how to buff Slugs, Infinity Ward has nailed it out of the park, and Slugs on shotguns and multiplayer are now a viable option. I know it's a lot to take in, and when I saw the patch notes I nearly crapped my pants, but they did it. This is not a troll, and I can tell you straight up that Slugs are so much better, and now they're actually fun to use. Thank God. There's a lot that's changed though, and I think that because of this, it's fair to say that it's time to make an updated slug guide video for you guys to really highlight things that have changed and go into the testing a little bit deeper to get a good understanding of what happened in this Season 4 Reloaded update. So this is my ultimate weapon guide for the Slugs rework in Modern Warfare. As always, check out the timestamps in the description below because I'll be going over the general changes and overview of the Slugs, and then dive into each shotgun briefly to share my experience with them and my thoughts, and also to talk about some attachments and stuff like that. So first off, let's hop right into the patch notes and go from there. The first thing we see is that they have increased muzzle velocity of Slugs. This is something I noticed almost immediately when hopping into a game with them. Before, Slugs traveled extremely slow and you could feel it. Shots always felt like a second behind where they should be, and because of this it made you have to lead targets even when they were only like 10 meters away, which is just silly. They felt like little marshmallow meteorites that didn't do a damn thing. Now, you can tell that the response between shooting and the enemy getting hit is almost immediate. You know that snappy one-shot feel with the Mark II carbine? Well, this is basically how it feels now. At further distances, of course, you'll probably notice the slower muzzle velocity, but it's perfect for most 6v6 map engagements now. As a sort of byproduct of this, shots aren't going to just fall flat right after 30 meters anymore. After testing it a little bit, it seems like Slugs start to fall slightly downwards after about 50 meters or so, and that's when I noticed that shots were going just a little bit lower than my intended target. But it isn't nearly as bad as it was before. So Slugs travel much faster now, but also it seems like the zero distance is also a lot better, and they go a lot further so you won't have to aim higher than your targets for quite some distance. We're talking like at least 50 meters, so really it's almost like double the zero distance. Now you can aim right at a target, and in most cases, it's going to go right where you shoot at in a much quicker pace. This leads me to the next fix, which is the spread for the Slugs has been reduced. Prior to the first buff, the Slugs were pointless and large because of this. They didn't go anywhere you wanted to, and they had a ridiculous amount of spread, and for a projectile, that's just dumb. There was one buff that fixed this a little bit and made the choke and larger barrels help with this spread, but that basically made the larger barrels and choke pretty much mandatory to run if you tried Slugs. Now, the spread is so much better. As you can see from these pictures, the spread is super tight in most cases. It's not exact like a marksman rifle, but if you remember how they were before, it was bad. With this, you'll also notice that shorter barrels are actually okay to use now. Before, you would be in for a bad time if you used anything other than a large barrel. Now, they all have somewhat of a purpose and they all are viable on every shotgun. They still have varying spread, but it's not that bad, and based off of my playtime with them, it works beautifully in most scenarios. It'll really only be noticeable when you're past 40 meters or so, when you really need super precision, or if someone is head glitching behind something. Up next in the notes, it does say that it added dynamic spread, which is actually, I guess, kind of a nerf if you think about it. Basically, whenever you move or change into prone or crouching, your crosshairs are going to change as well. Before this update, the spread was basically fixed and never changed, so now if you move, the hip fire is going to be way more random if you fire while moving around. Just equip them and move around, and you can see for yourself how wide they get as you move around and change positions. Now, the next two changes we're just going to go ahead and lump together. We have an increase to our damage ranges as well as an increase to our damage for the lower torso. Instead of breaking these down on their own, let's go ahead and just talk about the brand new and improved damage profile for Slugs as a whole. First off, we now have an extra area on the body that now does separate damage, which is the arms. So prior to this update, the stomach and the arms were kind of lumped together in with the stomach and the chest multipliers. But now, shoulders down, the arms deal separate damage. So let's look at the damage profile for the shotguns. We'll use the 680 as an example, but all the shotguns minus the 725 feature the same damage numbers, they just vary in the ranges for each. As you can see, anywhere on the body above the legs is a one-shot kill up close in the max damage range. Nothing too special here so far. You can see the arms are enough to kill, and the stomach and the chest both do more damage than it did prior to this update. The stomach now basically deals the damage that the chest did pre-patch. This damage range is up to 2.6 meters for each of the shotguns except the 725 and the Origin. The Origin is actually just slightly shorter, and the 725, as you'll see, functions completely differently than the other shotguns in damage and range. Once we get past this range, you'll notice stomach shots are still a one-shot kill, and again, the range for this depends on the shotgun. The 680 actually has the best stomach kill range, with it being at about 12 meters. And as you can see, arms no longer kill in one shot. Then past that and up to 27 meters for the 680, the chest and up kills in one shot. Remember, prior to this buff, the only way to get a good one-shot kill was with upper chest and head. Now in this 27 meter range for the 680, you can get one-shot kills just chest and up, which is so much easier to do than having to do upper chest. This, along with all the other perks I've mentioned above, are why slugs are so much better now. For the 680, the effective one-shot kill range where you don't need to hit the head is 27 meters. This is close to how it used to be, but you had to hit upper chest and head to get the kill, whereas now you can just hit chest. I'll be going over all the shotguns and their ranges in just a second, but you can probably see now why slugs feel so much better. You can still get headshots to kill in one shot for even further if you're curious, but it does eventually drop down to a two-shot kill past 40 meters or so, again with the 725 being the main exception. I've been loving the 680 with slugs a lot now, and I feel that I can actually compete with some people in most situations if I'm playing smart. You still have to be smart with how you move and what engagements you choose to fight, but it's infinitely better than it used to be, and it feels so satisfying to nail a one-shot kill from like 30 meters away with a slug now. So we've covered the 680 briefly, and you got the idea of how the damage and ranges look. Now let's take a look at the other shotguns. As I said before, the damage values stay the same, it's just the range that's different for each. We'll see the damage ranges, and we'll talk briefly about how each shotgun feels and how they perform. The R90 shotgun features a one-shot kill anywhere on the torso up to 2.6 meters, and it features a one-shot kill range of chest and up to around 22 meters, which is 5 meters down from the 680. The nice thing about this shotgun though is of course the two-shot burst. This shotgun can perform pretty damn well now with slugs because of that follow-up shot, and I've seen a lot of people tell me it's their new favorite. While it's definitely strong, I can't help but feel that it's kind of become my least favorite shotgun though. It just feels a bit clunky, and none of the attachments really help with this gun much, and the base iron sights are kind of obtrusive to me. The slugs are awesome on it, don't get me wrong, but in terms of preference, I just don't like to use this one much at all now. Give it a try yourself with slugs, but I prefer the 680 over this one. Next up, we have the Origin 12. We did skip over the 725, but don't worry, we'll get into that one last just to keep things consistent. Again, same damage values, but the range for that torso one-shot kill is only 2.2 meters. Not a huge downgrade from 2.6 meters, thankfully. The effective one-shot kill for chest and up, though, can extend up to 17 meters, and considering this is a spammy shotgun, this is extremely deadly. You can one-shot people with this thing pretty easily if you have the aim, and if you miss, 2 shots is going to do the trick, if you hit anywhere in the torso at least. Just avoid the legs, of course, with all the shotguns. Before the buff, this was my worst slug shotgun for some reason, and now it's pretty nasty. Do not sleep on this one, but again, in terms of preference, I prefer having a better one-shot kill range and landing that good one shot. Now let's talk about the VLK Rogue. This one has the usual 2.6 meter torso one-shot kill range, and the chest one-shot kill range extends up to about 25 meters. This makes it better than the R90 and just short of the Model 680. This is another fan favorite slug shotgun now, with people loving the fast fire rate and just how fast and snappy the gun handles. Honestly, it's one of my favorites as well, and it seems like now, buckshot is probably the weakest type of ammo for this gun specifically. Dragon's Breath and Slugs both kick ass on this gun, so I'm glad we have some nice versatility for it. The only complaint I have though is that the iron sights I really don't like, but that's pretty subjective anyway, and you can always slap on another sight if you wanted to, but I just don't like the iron sights. It's really my main complaint about the gun, and the fact that it really does kick a lot. I don't know if you guys have noticed, especially if you run no stock now, but the gun has quite a bit of kick, so if you need a follow-up shot, good luck and be able to control that recoil because it's really tough. Okay, so we've checked out most of the shotguns and their good one-shot kill ranges with slugs, but now let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, the 725. As with before, the 725 features a unique damage profile, and really, they weren't touched since the buff, which makes sense because the 725 with Slugs was already really good, but it was just being held back by some weird mechanics, which Slugs have when you use them, of course. The one-shot kill range for anywhere on the torso is going to be about 25 meters, which is super nice. It's basically on par with the VLK Rogue. The kicker here, though, is that the chest and up range extends basically up to 70 meters or so. This basically has you covered on all the 6v6 maps. In most engagements, if you hit chest, you'll get the kill. Past 70 meters, it seems like the chest damage drops, but the headshots will always be a one-shot kill. It was hard to test the damage past that, but I was getting hit markers more commonly past that range. But realistically, you're not going to be engaging people from that far, unless you're playing ground war or trying to do some cool long-distance shots. But since the buff though, this gun feels even better, and this is definitely the best shotgun sniper in the game, hands down now. And there we have it, 5 shotguns briefly touched on, but we're not done with this video yet because we still have a few questions to answer. First off, what do attachments do? Are chokes still needed? Well, I'm happy to tell you, no, the choke is not really needed anymore. While it helps and while the larger barrels help as well, the difference is just not that bad. Sure, you'll notice from the spread that they make a small difference, but compared to how they were, it's night and day. Most of the shotguns seem to have relatively the same amount of spread, oddly enough, even comparing the 680 to a gun like the Origin. Basically, they've made the spread much more manageable on its own, and you don't need to focus on just having the choke with a big barrel. So how do barrels work with Slugs? Well, they seem to affect spread minimally, but they also seem to affect our damage ranges, meaning with a bigger barrel, our ranges actually increase. By how much depends on the gun. Well, we can actually get some pretty awesome boosts to our ranges with some of these attachments, so let's go over each shotgun's ranges with some of these attachments on. For the 680, you can see equipping the Marauder and the Sport Barrel can give you a nice 38% increase to our ranges, so the max chest and up one-shot kill range is going to be 37 meters, which is amazing. Remember too that this is going to increase the stomach one-shot kill range as well. The other barrels help much less significantly than with the Marauder and the Sport Barrel, but it's not going to weigh the gun down as much since both of those attachments affect not only aim down sight speed, but movement speed as well. The SWAT barrel gets a penalty in range, but it can aim down sights really quick, and that is so nice for consistent one-shot kills up close, and you feel insanely quick when using it. With the R90, attachments don't really affect the gun as much as the 680's does. The TAC Sentry can increase it by 4%, and the choke is also a 4% boost to range. The Gemini is about an 8% decrease, and the monolithic suppressor doesn't really affect range at all, or at least not significantly enough for it to matter. So the best one-shot kill range for chest and up is going to be around 24 meters or so with this gun. I prefer aim down sights time over range though on this gun, since the range attachments don't really do much at all. The 725 gets minor range changes from each barrel, with the competition barrel only going up by 8% to 27 meters. The sawed-off though surprisingly had no effect on the range, it seems like, and honestly it's kind of my secret weapon. Running Slugs on the sawed-off now isn't the most accurate for super long distance, but by God, up close it's a monster. But don't tell anyone. As for the choke, it helped barely at all, basically a meter, and the monolithic was also about the same as well. The Origin 12 is a similar story to the 725, with the Impaler barrel giving you about a 20 meter one-shot kill chest and up, and the wide shot lowering it down 1 meter. The choke and the suppressor both help about 1 meter, so you're looking at 21 meters max potential kill range for chest and up with all these attachments. There really isn't anything special about the Origin 12's attachments. You're kind of limited with what you pick in the muzzle, so really anything you choose is good, but again, I prefer a quicker aim down sights time than using something like a barrel. Then the VLK Rogue, which has a standard chest and up one-shot kill range of 25 meters, can get some pretty nice boosts with the right attachments. First off, the Tsar actually doesn't give you as much of a boost as the Marauder suppressor, oddly enough. The Tsar takes it up to 29 meters, a 16% increase, and the Marauder by itself takes it up to 31 meters, which is a 24% increase. Together, you can get up to a 35 meter one-shot kill range for chest and up, which is just behind the 680's ranges. If you had to pick one attachment, try using the Marauder and maybe the Warlord barrel so you can get the most range for as little mobility penalties as you can. Whew. Alright, okay, so there's a lot of stuff in this video, but we finally covered the majority of stuff that's super important about the new slug rebalancing that we've gotten. A few small things though. Stopping power for one doesn't seem to be of any use with slugs at all, and it's actually broken on the 725. I think you only get 2 shots and then it's done. The range tests that I did basically showed no benefits at all from stopping power, so really don't expect to get anything out of using stopping power with slugs on. With buckshot it's great, but it seems to have little to no effect on ranges for slugs, so I would just avoid it. Also, it seems like slugs can actually penetrate certain objects now when I believe that they couldn't before. They can't go through metal or anything, but wooden objects or plywood style cover is able to be shot through, so that is nice, but nothing amazing here. Don't expect to be able to deal with head glitchers any easier with that in mind, and also FMJ doesn't really do much for penetration from what I can tell. I didn't really get any nice boosts from it. It probably does more damage to score streaks, but I haven't really measured that. But again, FMJ, just nah, stay away from it. Now, I do have to briefly touch on Warzone because this balance patch actually didn't affect slugs at all in Warzone. I went and I tested it myself. It's still 4 headshots, it's still 5 body shots, 8 leg shots. In other words, they're basically unchanged and they're still really crappy. So just do not use them in Warzone. Even if they were really good like they are in multiplayer, I don't think they'd still be as viable as other weapons like the Growl and all that. But just sadly untouched, so avoid them in Warzone like always. And I think that just about covers everything that I had in mind that I wanted to talk about with these new slug changes. And honestly, I'm super impressed. I had no idea this change was coming. When I saw it in the patch notes, like I said, I nearly crapped my pants. But it's such a welcome change to see because slugs were so bad prior to this update. And now they're actually somewhat viable. So let's rejoice. I know you shotgun fiends like me are freaking out over this update. And everyone's telling me, oh, you gotta check them out. You gotta check them out. And I have, and man, I gotta say, we're in for a treat. This is awesome. I'm so happy that they did this. So kudos to you, Infinity Ward. Thank you so much for such a great balancing patch in terms of shotguns. Awesome. Let me know what you guys think of the new balance patch. Do you think that the slugs are awesome now? Do you think they're still kind of crappy? Are they really difficult to use and hard to master and all that? Just let me know in the comments below, and if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. I'm on my way to 10,000 subs, and we have a nice community here, so you're more than welcome to be a part of it. But with all that being said and out of the way, I want to wish you all a happy day/night, and I will see you in the next video.